What's up, gamers? At the time of writing this, I had just turned 24, which means I am old, decrepit, and I am currently being lowered into my grave as I speak. Now, for an old, crusty geezer like myself, games these days just, they got too much going on. I mean, what the hell's happening here? Genuinely, what is this? What is going on? So, you know, I need games for old grandpas like myself. Thankfully for old curmudgeonly grandpas like myself, we have boomer shooters. And now, what is a boomer shooter, you ask? Well, it's really just another term for a retro FPS game, kind of like your original Dooms and Duke Nukem 3Ds, those kind of games. These retro FPS games have been getting a bit of a renaissance lately, and there's tons of variety between them. If you like fast-paced gameplay and a stylish combo system, then Ultra Kill is an easy pickup. That game is excellent. Like beating up goblins? Pick up Chop Goblins. It's like $5. It's a great time. And then there's Heat and Blood Right, which is a game for people who are interested in big muscular demon women. Which, I mean, not me, definitely not. I do not have a hard drive dedicated for that exact thing. And you know what? If you want to help me out, send it all to this email address where I will, and tell me where you got it to, so that way I can properly avoid it and block those websites. Now, originally I was going to talk about some of my favorite retro FPS games, as well as try out a bit of new ones and kind of review them all in a bundle. That was until I played CULTIC. CULTIC is a crunchy retro FPS released by JSAWS Games, I think that's how it's pronounced, don't yell at me if that's wrong, who is a primarily one-person development team. Now, originally when I first played the demo on Steam, I was kind of on CULTIC. The story is pretty simple. You play as a detective and searching for missing persons at what I believe is like an abandoned town or like mining village or something. You get attacked by cultists and you gotta rise from your grave, fight them, and stop whatever they're planning. Pretty simple, and for the most part, it was your pretty standard retro FPS game. The visuals were nice and like had this nice crunch to them, which I really liked, but gameplay-wise, not a lot to draw me in. There was a kick, which isn't in a lot of retro FPSs, and that was kind of cool, but it wasn't really effective or anything, so I was just kind of on it. After buying the full game though, whew, this game is fire. The gameplay, stellar. The level design, immaculate. The game currently only has one chapter out, and goddamn is it good. And you might be wondering what changed my opinion from just a to a you need to play this game kind of opinion. The kick. You see, in the demo, when you were to jump in the air and kick, it would slow down your momentum. But now in the full release, when you jump and kick in the air, you actually speed up. This means as long as you're spamming the jump kicks, you're gonna be moving around the map like a goddamn maniac hitting cultists with a stanky leg at Mach 10. And while this is a little bit janky, it really makes just moving around the game all by itself a lot of fun. I guess you could say it really kicks it up a notch. But seriously, the added movement really makes the game that much better. The game already gives great movement options like sliding and dodging, but the added jump kick really is just the icing on the cake that transforms this retro FPS into a really fun movement shooter. Which, by the way, I just adore. I love movement shooters, and this one is, I mean, I don't even know if this technically classifies as one, but it's a blast. And because of how fun the movement is, it makes exploring the vast levels and secret hunting not feel like a chore. Just moving around the level feels like a ton of fun. So having to go between every nook and cranny is not really that big of a deal. Now, people are going to tell you that CULTIC is best played at a longer range, as typically enemies will be quite a bit of distance away from you. I'm not really a fan of longer range engagements, and my style is a little more So if you couldn't tell, I really like getting into close range and chopping at them with my hatchet or going wild with my shotgun. And even playing this on hard mode where enemies can absolutely shred you and you will die a lot. I just find this style of play so satisfying and so much fun. Especially when you can use the jump kicks to hop around like a coke-addled martial artist to get in real close. It is just a great time, and it's definitely my preferred way to play, as I find the close range weapons just So much fun to use. And speaking of weapons, I should probably go over those real quick. Per typical retro FPS fashion, as you progress through the game, you'll slowly acquire more and more weapons, slowly building your arsenal. And CULTIC has a pretty good variety of weapons that you find. For close range, you got the hatchet and your shotgun, my favorites. Mid-range, you got the pistol and the fully automatic Sten. Longer range, you got the scoped FG, which is really strong. And for big damage numbers, you got the flamethrower, otherwise known as the incinerator, and the grenade launcher. You also have a lever action rifle, which is easily the best weapon in the game. Close range, you can spam the lever and shoot really fast. Long range, you can pop heads like it's no problem. The only thing it can't really do is make your dad love you. Give up on that, it's not gonna happen. But despite being so strong, it doesn't have a scope, which can make longer range engagements a little bit trickier. But trust me, at the end of this game, you're gonna be able to point out their heads from miles away. Especially on shield boys. Holy shit, I am the master at shooting out heads from behind shields. I am so damn good at it. As well, I found that the ammo for this weapon was a little more scarce. Between all the weapons, I felt like I was constantly out of ammo for it, which is fine. As I said, I feel like it's one of the strongest weapons in the game, so its ammo being more scarce makes sense. But sometimes it does leave you with just your close range options, meaning sometimes all you're gonna have is a shotgun and a dream, and you gotta make it work somehow. Overall, I think the guns are really well designed. Each one has their own niche and it fills it well. But I do have some nitpicks, like the Sten and the pistol sharing the same ammo type. And while the Sten is fun to use and great at mowing down crowds of enemies, the pistol, after it's got its damage and accuracy upgrade, becomes just so much more consistent and doesn't use as much ammo. So all around, it's just a better weapon. But besides this, I think the guns are great otherwise. You also have throwable weapons like Molotov cocktails and dynamite. Molotov cocktails, when you throw them, it covers a good area and lights a lot of cultists on fire, where they run around and scream, which is a subtle reference to the fact that burning alive is fucking painful. And the dynamite is a little more utility based. While the explosion is really good and can kill a lot of enemies, it can also be used to blow up parts of the environment to unveil secrets. They can also be thrown at the ground to boost a jump across a large gap, which I am fucking terrible at, and I couldn't do it for the life of me. We should also talk about CULTIC's visual style. It's really nice. All the guns and animations look great. The enemies and models are fantastic. It's got that nice old school crunch that I really like, especially in a retro FPS. As well, the blood and gore is excellent. It's phenomenal. Blasting someone close range with a shotgun or an explosive completely liquefies them and turns them into a puddle of guts. Popping someone's head off with a rifle or a pistol turns them into a geyser of blood and gore, and it's just really cool. And fun fact, when you do kill cultists, sometimes they'll drop pieces of gore, like an eyeball, and you can pick those eyeballs up and throw them at enemies, and if you hit them, the enemies explode. I don't know why, but it's really funny. And while the game's color palette is pretty dull, there's not a lot of bright, vibrant colors, the moments when there are those bright, vibrant reds, or if you just look up at the sky, it's really pretty and really beautiful, and it's just nice. It's just nice to look at. I really enjoy that aspect of the game. As I've already mentioned, the level design is excellent. Levels are large and vast and leave plenty of room to go and explore and find supplies, ammo, health kits, all that good stuff, as well as secrets, which might have things like weapon parts. And somehow, after scouring the entire level, going to every corner and crevice, there are still more secrets. I don't know where they are, but I don't know how I missed them either. One thing that I really enjoy about the secrets too is some of the time you have to use props around the map to parkour up to them, which is a really fun way to break up the action, and it's almost like a small little mini puzzle, and it's nice. I really like that. Now, as I mentioned, with the levels being big, this does make for a longer than average level, with each level lasting about 20-25 minutes, 30 at the very most. Now, while 20 to 30 minutes might sound like a long time to be in a level, it's really not that bad. The game has excellent pacing. It never drags, it's never too slow, it's always just right, and the time just flies right on by. It's great. Now, up next we got the boss fights, which are hit or miss, and knowing that there are two, you're gonna know one's a hit, one's a miss. The first up is Chapter 1's mid-boss, the tank. Now, the tank might kind of sound boring at first. I mean, it's just a tank. However, it is probably my favorite part in this game, period. It is phenomenal how good this level is. It really feels like an excellent test of everything you've learned so far, and just works as a great showcase for all the mechanics in the game. It pits you between a rock and a hard place. On one side, cultists are swarming in by the dozens. On the other side is a giant tank bearing down on you, shooting machine guns and cannon fire at you. So naturally, you have to balance your focus between these two things. And the arena for this is just spectacular. It is a church with a large courtyard, which gives you tons of room to use all the game's fun movement and mechanics to shoot around the map, and it also provides enough cover should you need a reprieve. It's really just excellently done, and it is so much fun that my first time going through this, I was convinced that this was the final boss because of how much fun and just how grand it was. It is awesome. It is really one of the highlights of the game. Also, this game has a survival mode where you gotta fight waves of enemies, and this church courtyard is one of the levels, and that is excellent. One of my favorite levels in the game. It's a masterpiece. It's a master class of a level. Up next is the boss it's a bit of a miss. And also, it's the final boss, so spoilers. If you don't want spoilers, skip to this timestamp. Now, the final boss is called the Abomination, and it has, at first, what's a really cool cutscene, followed by a very disappointing reveal.
It is done. God left me unfinished!
By the way the game was building up, I was expecting a giant skeleton or a large demon, and I got some weird bony boy stuck in a wall. To be fair, it's a cool design. I like the idea of an amalgam of flesh and bone trying to crush you and throw rocks at you, but when you see that giant hand come down and crush the priest, I was expecting so much more and was kind of disappointed by the reveal. But reveal aside, what about the boss itself? Surely the final level is going to be grandiose and epic and totally memorable. Unfortunately, it's not. It's not even close. This boss it's not terrible, but it's really not good either. So while the tank boss, you gotta utilize all the game's mechanics, the fun movement, the smooth gunplay, all of it coming together to make one tight, just excellent bit. This does none of that. I mean, there's little bits of some of those elements, but nothing to the scale of the tank. So the fight is pretty basic in itself. The boss has two kind of health bars. One is an armor meter or a stagger meter. Once you break that, it staggers it and its chest cavity opens, and this is your time to DPS, dealing damage to its real health bar. Now, the armor meter, that shit goes fast. It shreds like nothing. It is paper thin. And once you get to the actual heart, as long as you got the incinerator with plenty of ammo, it's dead in an instant. You're not going to kill it on your first phase, but the amount of damage you deal is just insane. And once you deal a good amount of damage, the chest cavity closes back up. Cultists walk out on the walkways and begin to shoot at you. And really, they're just kind of a nuisance. You just kind of gotta shoot them back. They don't really pose much of a threat. And then you repeat the cycle ad nauseum, shredding armor, dealing damage until it's dead. And like I said, it's not a terrible boss, but it's just so easy. It doesn't really feel like it tests a skill, it feels like a DPS check. And for it being the final boss, it kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. Which is a shame, because the rest of the game is just stellar. It is a completely awesome game, except for this last bit. So that's my opinions on the final boss. Somewhat cool design-wise, but it just kind of fails to deliver in every aspect. Again, not terrible, but far from being great. And while I'm talking about negative things, I should probably talk about other issues I have with the game. One issue that I've noticed a lot of people talk about is the slow motion. The slow motion is a mechanic where if you get a headshot on an enemy or kill a group of enemies really quickly, you get a little slow motion for extra style points, but a lot of times it feels unearned. Sometimes you'll just headshot a random enemy and you'll get the slow motion, and it's like, cool, but I didn't do much to deserve that. And because the bar is so low for getting the slow motion, it kind of overall cheapens the experience. Because don't get me wrong, there's some really cool slow motion bits that I found, but otherwise, sometimes it just feels out of place. Not bad, just I feel like it needs some tweaking for it to be great. The next real nitpick I have is sometimes the AI just doesn't work. Not a huge deal, just, you know, just one of those things. It's primarily one person working on this, so a lot of these issues I'm not too upset about. It's just like small things here and there that kind of are like, eh. But otherwise, that's CULTIC. It was released in October of 2022 by JSaw's Games. It is currently $10 on Steam, which is just an excellent deal. Do yourself a favor and pick this game up. It is excellent. I highly recommend it. As usual, I don't rate games out of 10, so I'm not going to give it an out of 10 score. I'm just telling you, play it. Just do it. It is great. But if you've played the game, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Or you can follow my Twitter or join my Discord. Links are down in the description below. Otherwise, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Sorry this video took me a little longer than I would have liked to have made it. Some life stuff happened and kind of got sidetracked by that. But hopefully, from here on out, I can be a little more consistent with my schedule. In the coming weeks, I'm planning to review the Souls trilogy, as well as Sekiro, Elden Ring, and Bloodborne. So look out for those. I'm not going to do them all at once. I'm going to intersplice some other things between them. So, you know, look out for all that, because it's going to be a lot of fun. But otherwise, click here to subscribe, and click here for a weekly podcast I do with me and my friends. We release a new episode every Friday at noon Central Time. And it's a lot of fun, and people seem to really like it. So, yeah, go click on that playlist and enjoy. Episode 24 is a lot of people's favorite, so maybe check that one out first.